Charles Bloxton is a legacy right here in Philadelphia, a living legacy. And it's a pleasure, really, to talk to him and to find out something about his history and his life. I'm doing that at Sullivan Hall, which is his main library in Philadelphia. And if you haven't been here, I'm looking around and seeing all the history around here. And to see this man sitting next to me, someone I've admired since I first came to Philadelphia. You were my right arm.
Thank you.
Because I think I must have called you every day since 1967.
Time goes by, yes. That was a long time.
It was a long time.
We were like soulmates.
Yeah. But how did you become so important in everyone's life here in Philadelphia?
Well, it didn't start out this way. It started out when I grew up in Norristown, Pennsylvania, which is 18 miles from Philly. Growing up in an integrated classroom in the 1940s, I never had an African-American teacher or a black teacher in my life. I raised my hand during a history class one day and asked the teacher, do we have any heroes besides Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver? She said, no, Charles, Negroes were born to serve white people. So I went home and told my parents about it. They said, don't pay her any mind. So they gave me books to read. My father read every weekend the black newspaper, the Amsterdam News from New York, the Pittsburgh Courier, and the Philadelphia Tribune. So I knew that part. And my uncle and grandfather had books by Du Bois and by my hero, Paul Robeson, Booker T. Washington, Mary McDowell Bethune, and such. So I knew my teacher was wrong. So I started collecting books from Salvation Army, the bookstores. I would take the train from Norristown to Philadelphia and go to Larry's bookstore at 9th and Chestnut Street and buy books. Then I would go up to Harlem, New York. I was an athlete, so everywhere I participated.
Oh, now hold on. You were an athlete?
Yes.
What did you play and where?
From Norristown, I started out in grade school. Football and track was my major sport. Then I was going to be a boxer one time. But then I had an honor and blessed, I think, when I became the state champion in shot put and discus for Pennsylvania. I broke the state record. Then I made all-state football. Then the colleges started to come after me. I chose my college, Penn State University, for football and track. And then while at Penn State, I was lucky to have as roommates two famous athletes, one Lenny Moore from Reading, Pennsylvania, who was a rival, and the other was a man from New Jersey by the name of Roosevelt Greer, Rosie Greer.
Yeah, Rosie Greer. And he ended up doing needlepoint, right?
Even during the time he played New York Giant football team. I was still in contact with both Lenny and Rosie. There's another African-American from New Rochelle, New York, by the name of Jesse Arnell, who played in football and basketball. So,
well, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you have such an interesting life. And I know how it felt to come up without someone of color near you. But how did you really put all of this together to be located here at Sullivan Hall at Temple University? How did that come about?
It was a struggle. My life, I like to identify myself as the conduit. I'm passing through life like Harry Tubman passed through Paul Robeson, who's my hero, and W. Du Bois, and all kinds of people came through. We all should leave a legacy, and I was always drawn to books and reading, especially about our people. So I started collecting. Times I couldn't afford books, going to the bookstores or Philly, colleges around the country, I collected books all over the world as I traveled. In Europe, Africa, South America, the Caribbean, wherever I went, French, Italian, whatever said black and so forth. So my house became like another library. People would come from all over the country to my home before I brought it to Temple University.
I remember being there. Tell me a little about your home and that library.
Yes. I live out in a place called Gwinnett, 8 miles from my hometown, Norristown, in the country. I have 4 acres of ground. I have deer and pheasants still out there. So I built in my basement a large library with shelves and all that. I would buy books wherever I go. And so Eve, my daughter, she used to sit on my knee while I was collecting to read to her. Then she got into books. enjoying our history.
Mhm.
She later went to Penn State, took Black History courses. She's my soulmate.
I know. How many books have you written, and what kinds of books are they?
Well, I flunked English composition twice at Penn State before I passed it. Then I wrote 11 books from the Underground Railroad, Black genealogy, African American in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia history, and all kinds of Black history. So then I wrote a few pamphlets. My greatest honor, I think, was being selected to write an article for the National Geographic magazine, the first cover story by an African American. I had on the cover Harry Tubman, 1984.
What now? You've received so many honors. What is your most coveted one?
Many people like you, you're like a legacy to people I met. You're a legacy yourself. Just the people I met. I looked at Paul Robeson. Rosa Parks was sitting. While you were sitting talking to me, Rosa Parks was in this collection. I met Rosa Parks. I met all kind of. Used to go to Harlem to Mr. Michaud's bookstore, where I met Malcolm X. I met Langston Hughes. Whenever I became curious, my book collecting excursions, I would always go to Harlem. Those years, I won the National Indoor Shot Put Championship at Madison Square Garden in high school. I said, "Well, I'm up here in New York. I want to go to Harlem, but I don't know how to get there." But I did not remember Duke Ellington's song, "Take the A train to Harlem." So I took the A train to Harlem.
I've done that myself, taking the A train,
to
and I have had the good fortune of having interviewed Duke Ellington at one time, so I know what you mean.
Yes.
It was a little light. You now are looking, or you have looked at the past, you're now looking to the future. And what do you see?
I see a curiosity. There's one link leads to another link. I never thought that growing up, I used to hear about the Underground Railroad, and I thought it was a choo-choo train that went underground.
Mm-hmm.
But then my grandfather was singing a song one day. He was the founder of the Salong Baptist Church in Arstown. After our family came up from Delaware, originally Accomack County, Virginia, he used to get happy after eating Sunday.
I just have to ask you because I know what you mean, but I don't know if everyone out there knows. What do you mean by getting happy?
His soul, after he ate his Sunday dinner, he would start to sing.
Exactly.
Church, he loved to sing his spirituals. So one day he was singing a song, "There's a highway to heaven, there's a highway to heaven, walking up the King's Highway." I said, "Grandpa, what are you thinking about?" He said, "I'm thinking about the Underground Railroad." I said, "The Underground Railroad?" I thought it was a young age of about 10 years old. I thought it was a train that went underground. He said, "Our people escaped from the Underground Railroad from Delaware to Philadelphia to Canada." And guess later on I found out that I'm related to Harry Tubman. I inherited 5 years ago 39 items that belonged to her. The robe that Queen Victoria gave her, her knife, fork, and spoon, and so forth. I said, "God, why me?" And then my mother always said, "Don't question God. You got it for a reason." So I said, "What am I going to do with it?" I didn't want to bring it here. I didn't want to sell it. People said, "Well, you should sell it." I said, "I would never sell it." So I prayed over it. So the Spirit came to me and said, "Donate it to the new National African American Museum in Washington, D.C. That's where it is now. People from all over the world come to see it.
Yeah. Well, let me, again, I want to ask you, what do you see in the future, in our future, in this country's future?
I see our history. I see more and more of our people taking on, clinging to our history. Now we have museums, we have books, we have people like you. Your legacy is very important. The legacy of our ancestors. You paved the way for others, others paved the way for you. You're a conduit too. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the world, but we're part of that. That's what I see.
Are you afraid for any reason?
No, I'm not afraid because I'm curious. I'm a Sagittarian type. I'll be 86 years old in December.
Sagittarian?
You're a Sagittarian?
Yes,
No,
I am.
you're not.
Yes, I am. What's yours?
December 16th.
Oh, mine is the 23rd of November.
No
I
wonder.
knew we had no wonder we loved each other.
No wonder. Well, what more can I say?
Your prediction for our future.
You're a Sagittarian. What I'm saying to you, We are searchers. We're givers. As long as we are alive, we will always search, acquire knowledge.
I got that message.
Yeah, don't you feel the same way?
Yes, I feel that I have something I hope to leave to those who follow, and I want to help them to get there.
Well, I live to see, even being in this collection at Temple University, being here was a struggle and pain, but it was a part of the process. Now people come from here all over the world.
You deserve it.
Well, it's not mine. It's not me. It doesn't belong to me, Trudy. It doesn't belong to you. It's legacy.
Yeah.
Like with Harriet, Frederick Douglass, Paul Robeson, and over and over and over again. Like Michelle Obama, her husband, Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm. Those are the new highlights.
They're
They're the new ones. They're the new legends.
Yes, that's right. And if I can't forget another person, I almost met her. I was so upset. The year she died, 1975, I have photographs of her here, Josephine Baker. I just missed meeting her a couple of times.
Yeah. So you have this library, and you have one at home.
The one at home I don't talk about too much, but no, there's so much in my life. I have a library at my university, Penn State. There's another library in my name up there at Penn State. Not as large as this. There's over 700,000 items there in this collection. But I have another collection at home, which I'm perhaps will donate to another place. Starting out as a 10-year-old boy, I never realized that I would accumulate this much knowledge.
Yeah. What do you have to say for these young people that are coming along now?
Hold on to your conviction. Whatever you believe in, as long as it's pure and honest, follow your soul, whatever your soul force. That's what I did. Sometimes people said they don't want to understand you, but as long as you believe in what you're searching for. I was never a loner. I was never alone because I always had knowledge around me. I was that Sagittarian nature. We're searchers, seekers, finders, and givers. Thank you. So you're
Sagittarian.
I knew there was a connection. Oh, wow.
Okay.
You know who else was a connection, Sagittarian at Howard? Dr. Wesley.
Uh-huh.
He was Charles Wesley.
Yes.
He was
Yes,
Sagittarian.
yeah.
He was Sagittarian.
Yes.
He's a good man. He was the first director of the African American Museum, which we didn't talk about. I'm a surviving founder member of the African American Museum in Philly.
Oh,
I'm one of the few who still.
Congratulations. Well, it was to be.
Well, my life is going here, there, everywhere.
You worry about a thing. You're looking good.
Well, thank you. So are you. You haven't changed. My God.
How do you close out something like this? You can go on for a long time talking to the legend, but talking to the man who's deep, thoughtful, who's quality, who's unbelievable, really, because I met him when he was a young man, I was a young lady, and we both come through a time when we both feel that we want to continue, and that's what we're going to do. I'm not giving up either. You can do it. I can do it.
You can't give up. Think of Harriet Tubman, she didn't give up to Journal Groups, Dr. Martin Luther King. There's so many more, they didn't give up. We have an obligation.
Now you got me. Got an obligation.
You know it.
Well, I like it.
Yes.
And I want to give back.
You have given back so much.
And I'm going to do it.
You have to do it.
You just watch me. I'm going to do it. Where were you born? You're here in Philly?
Born here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
And you went to school?
Went to Overbrook High School. But for me, musically, the start was really this extraordinary place called the Settlement Music School here in Philadelphia.
Does that still exist?
Oh, yes, doing great work in the community, several different locations throughout Philadelphia.
So music came naturally.
You know, my kindergarten teacher, she was absolutely amazing. She had all the students sit on the organ, and for some reason I was able to assimilate and make music happen. And I remember my mother being informed that I had a special gift with the music, and the rest is history. I mean, I'm really, really grateful. Her name was Miss Marie Todd, and it's funny. I tried to find her for years. I've been trying to find her, and I can't. But she's one of those people who was the first one to say, "You have something to share musically," and wherever you are, Miss Todd, I want to say thank you so much. And it shows the power of education. How we can make a difference in someone's life by opening up, by exposing, by encouraging, by inspiring us to aspire for more. And she was really quite amazing with that.
You're the only one in the family?
Well, there's 5 siblings. My mother and father now are deceased, but 5 siblings all together, and we're very close and do a lot
Musical?
together. None are musical. We sing and involved with church ministry in many different ways. A lot of leadership roles in the church and so forth. The AME church in particular, what I was born and reared into. And without question, the family does a lot with church, but not so much from the musical side.
What do we call you? Are you a writer, a musician, a singer, and a director, or all of those?
You know, it's all the above. You know, different projects require different things from us. So when it comes to producing a concert, I produced recently a concert called Soulful Christmas, which was at the Kimmel Center, and I want to thank the Kimmel for that. Also,
the first one?
No, this was the 6th one, actually. The 6th one, yeah. And
That should be thanking you, because it's always a success.
well, I'm very, very grateful for the platform, for the opportunity. Their president and yours has just been, from day one, just like really, really supportive and really in the corner, not only of me, but of the event, of the importance of the music and how it makes a difference here in the city of Philadelphia.
How does it make a difference?
Well, I think that in terms of the opportunity to bring praise to God from the African American lens, you know, in Philadelphia we have the wonderful music of the Philadelphia Orchestra, the wonderful music of Opera Company of Philadelphia, the wonderful Pops concerts, but they all tend to focus on Handel, on other styles of music, and some jazz with the Pops for sure. But something about bringing people together and celebrating African American sacred music is just very, very
Inspirational.
very inspirational, but also very social culturally, very just meaningful and very important work to do. And I'm glad to be to have one opportunity to be at the portal, to be the leadership for it. Another event was called the Gospel Roots of Rock and Soul. And that particular event, 3 weeks ago now, celebrated the contributions of gospel music and its impact on rock and soul. And Sarah Dash, formerly of the Bluebells, Patti LaBelle, she sang, and we had several singers from the city, a mass choir, and that event was really quite amazing.
Both of those are sponsored by Kimmel Center?
Well, no, the Gospel Roots of Rock and Soul was sponsored by WXPN, Roger LeMay and Bruce Warren, and they really poured themselves into the event as well, creating a foundation and an opportunity, again, for me to do the work that I do. In this case, it was production. In this case, it was a musical leadership. So that packaging was something that I had an opportunity to do with them.
You're a leader in our community, and I'm sure a lot of children particularly want to aspire, as you have. Are you reaching? I know you're reaching out to them, but how? In what way?
You know, I must tell you, years and years ago, I went to the Academy of Music, and I saw this black conductor from Zion Baptist Church, and his name was James Frazier. He never knew me, but changed my life. Seeing him on that stage at the Academy of Music, without question, was the portal for me into what I now do at the Kimmel Center. I am so clear on that, and I never got to talk to him, but the opportunity to see him on the stage, and another example would be what Clayton White used to do with Opera Company of Philadelphia, with Opera Ebony it was called, but seeing him and his work was also extremely inspiring to me. So that's where the start began for me in terms of working in classical music, working with the church, bringing it all together and looking and believing that there was a platform for me at a place like the Kimmel. To believe that that was even possible started with James Frazier.
So if someone wants to follow you, how should they get in touch with you? What should their parents do?
Well, in terms of youth and that important point of bringing it back to how we can inspire and work with children, I would also say that the Settlement Music School is an important start for that, because it's a little difficult now in the public schools. Music is not as available as it used to be. So our churches, our families, our grandparents, we have to be the ones to bring our youth to the musical experiences. So a way I did it with the Soulful Christmas is I asked Dr. Rollo Dilworth, who is the chair of music education at Temple University, would he work with the youth for Soulful Christmas? So we had 100 youth who gathered at Enon Tabernacle for 2 rehearsals. And then they gathered at Temple University for 2 rehearsals. The latter was really, really important to get those youth on a college campus, walking through the music department doors, being in a rehearsal room in a conservatory, working with the professor who's the head of the department. None of this is happenstance. All of this is caring about pouring into tomorrow. All of this is me in my own way trying to do what James Frazier did for me. And I really appreciate you asking that question, because it is very heart-touching to me, very, very education and how we can make a difference in the lives of others. So thank you for that.
You're considered both or 3 times director, musician, maybe singer. How do you put all that together and get what you want?
Well, a part of that has to do with organizational structures. For me, music is primary. Music is the first point. What music will reach the people based on the story we're trying to tell. That's a really important piece for this. And the other piece becomes aspiring and really striving for excellence. We sometimes, as audiences, underestimate what the African American community can do. And what I mean by that, so often we're limited only to gospel music, but we have talent who can do everything, as Marian Anderson would express, Leontine Price would express, from opera on to the powerful sounds that are born out of the slave trade, from the diaspora. The whole gamut is possible. And what I love doing is creating programs where that bridging occurs, bringing it all together and celebrating it all. So going from the diaspora on to present day experiences in America. As far as how to produce it and bring it together, I think one really important point is surrounding yourself with a broad range of talent. So don't limit yourself to just gospel. There's classical works by composers of African descent. To have an intention to bring more of that to the stage, bring more of that forward, to help educate not only African American people, but educate society about these tremendous contributions. I think that would be a really important thing to do.
Music is a healer. Is it a business with you?
Music is a healer for sure, and there is the business side of this that we need to be mindful of. I remember early on doing projects, and all of the resources would go into the project, and you get to the point where you realize you have to really pay yourself. That's an important part of this process. To plan in such a way, and to have companies like the Kimmel and others do so beautifully what they do, and that is to pour into the project as well. And in their case, the facility, in their case, the ushers, in their case, the programs. There's a lot of wonderful things that they do. And the same thing happened with the other project I talked to you about with WXPN. So I think pouring into the project is a very important piece to this as well.
Okay, television, Hollywood calling you. I mean, where do you go from here? A Broadway play, a musical?
You know, this is where you trust your process with God. You know, some say higher power, whatever. You know, not comfortable with the word God or Jesus. For me, God is the word. Um, but we don't know how our stories will unfold. But for me, it's about being ready. It's about pouring into the hard work. And I use that word pouring in a lot because so often we want to sit at the side and this is for church. It can be less. We're doing something for the Kimmel. Got to put all this. My perspective is no matter what it is, we need to be deeply committed to excellence. I have a way of working that I want to always be careful because we go really deep as a choir, even here at the church. And so just how that's communicated. Because, it's one thing when you're working inside the trenches and how that is, but then how it's communicated beyond that, you always want to be careful of. So I just appreciate that, producers and other people are willing to just be sensitive to how the work process has to be. Because for me, it's about a commitment to excellence. And not only commitment from those who are performing, but from me, from my role as well, whatever that might be, to be committed to excellence with what I have to do.